Now we come to the sessions talking about what is the pandemic disruptions. Okay. The pandemic disruptions, actually, they come from the different perspective. Okay. What kind of pandemic disruption you can think of? Okay. As I already mentioned, a border closure is a risks. Okay. Also, there is the safety issues, safety crisis, because the hygiene and the safety issues, it is also a crisis. Okay. Also, there is a supply chain management emergencies. Okay. So we have a risk, we have a crisis, and we have the emergency. They combine together. So it is, okay, because it's still going on, it is the pandemic disruption. Okay. All kind of different pandemic disruptions happens. Okay. If we look at the Taiwanese enterprises, about Taiwanese firms, okay, this is a timeline of the Taiwan PMI indicators, okay, in the shadow of the Sino-US trade war and the coronavirus impacts. Okay, so you can see, the before year 2016 to the year 2018, okay, there is a continuous, okay, going up of the PMI indicators. PMI indicators, that means the procurement, okay, procurement manager indicator. So the PMI indicators means the procurement manager, they are optimistic about the future or they are pessimistic about the future. Okay. Usually the procurement manager, okay, they are very sensitive persons in the firms, okay, because if the companies, okay, they are going to have a higher output volumes. Before the enterprise, they have the higher output volumes. About the 3 years before, or sometimes half years before, the procurement manager already knew the tasks about how many suppliers or material they have to buy. Okay, so the PMI index, sometimes we feel it is a leading indicator, an important leading indicator in the industries. Okay, so from the year 2016 to year 2018, the PM indicator is going up, okay, systematically. Okay, but however, okay, in the mid of the year 2018, there is suddenly, there is a Sino-US trade war suddenly disrupts. But before the trade war, actually, there is already had the threats, okay, the Trump administrations, they already threatens the China. They have constantly accused the China for stealing American jobs, stealing American intellectual properties. So actually, before the Sino-US trade war really begins, there was a tensions happens. Okay, then suddenly the trade war really happens. So actually, for Taiwanese firms, and before the coronavirus, actually the Sino-US trade war already make the PMI, the economic leading indicator, plunge, okay, to pessimistic, okay, conditions. Okay, but you can see the Sino-US trade war. When the Sino-US trade war, they are about to end, because the China and the US, they already signed the first stage, okay, the concessions negotiation deal. Okay, they reach the uneasy deals, okay, to end the first phase of the Sino-US trade war. Then suddenly it's come out to have the coronavirus. So actually, Taiwan companies was suffered twice. Okay, as I see, Taiwan economy or Taiwan industry manufacture are highly connected, associated with the Chinese enterprises, and we are the satellite country economy entities, okay, to China, okay, in terms of the supply chain issues. Okay, so actually the coronavirus, actually, once it happens, okay, the Taiwanese industry is already hardly hit, okay, by the Sino-US trade war already. So you can see this is my research students when they are doing their research by the event studies. They try to calculate the daily accumulated returns in Taiwan capital markets for the whole industries. Okay, you can see this is the Sino-US trade war. And the Sino-US trade war has made Taiwanese capital, okay, investments, the capital returns, accumulated returns in negative. So that means they are negative returns in the capital markets. Then there is a China outbreak. The China outbreak. Okay, the China outbreak, there is a hit to China outbreak, right? But because of China, actually, it contained the coronavirus quite well. So it within roughly 30 days, okay, the China has contained the coronavirus. But suddenly, the coronavirus, the pandemic spread to the Europe, to the USA, okay. Particularly, US is the major destinations for Chinese goods and Taiwanese goods, okay, the final destinations, okay. Since the US outbreak, suddenly there is another further impact, okay, to the capital markets. So I will say there is three waves of the impacts. Sino-US trade war is, okay, see, this is a very long terms, okay, negative impacts. And the Chinese outbreak actually is a sudden outbreak, but gradually alleviated by the Chinese countermeasures, okay, to the pandemic. Then the major blow actually is the US outbreak. When US decided to closure the daily markets and the borders, okay, it suddenly has a major hit to the Taiwanese manufacturer in the Taiwanese capital markets. Okay, so you can see according to these charts, okay, we can see it very clearly about the shock and the impacts caused by the two waves of the pandemics and the one wave of the Sino-US trade wars. Okay. And also you can see the coronavirus is an impact to the US firms is something very similar. Okay, so you can see this is when the first corona the death announced, it is in December in China, the late December, okay, in China, okay. Then it was Chinese outbreak. Then suddenly, the U.S. firm with the high China sales exposures was severely hit, okay, by this. But since China recovered soon, okay, then the U.S. domestic markets was hit as well after the February. You know, this is expected coronavirus impacts, expected trajectory. Okay, the expected trajectory is something like that. Okay, they expected there is have a high wave, then gradually come down. Okay, then because of it is winter's time, so there is a little bit comebacks. Okay, then gradually, okay, the further decreased, okay, because of the vaccines, okay, has been produced, okay, we have a widespread the vaccinations, okay, it will should be able to contain, okay, the pandemics. Then there is a very long tails, okay, long tails about the pandemics, but it's no longer a big issues, okay. This is an expected trajectory, but however, no one expected. Actually, they have different variations about the pandemics, the COVID-19 variations. Okay, so therefore, you know, the expected and the real trajectory are very much different. Okay, so let's see the real trajectory about the issues. Okay, so you can see here for about the China, okay, China, Taiwan's and Japan and Vietnam. Okay, you can see the newly confirmed case of the coronavirus. Okay, so mind you, this is per the 100K. Okay, this is the 7 days rolling averages of the new cases. Okay, per 100K. Okay, so you can see this. Even though China, okay, they have the cases happens, but it seems that the China contained it quite well, no problem. Okay, almost close to zero. But then there is a little bit comeback, in China. Okay, but not too much. Still very close to zero. Taiwan, we have a major the outbreak. Okay, not in the year 2020, but in the 2021, we have a sudden outbreak because of the Delta variations. We suddenly have an outbreak. Okay, but you can see the South Korea, Indonesia, Vietnam, Japan's, South Korea, this is South Korea, South Korea, and South Korea actually, at least they still contain it quite well, but Japan, Indonesia, and Vietnam, they are still ongoing. We are really hoping that the Indonesia, you see, they have already coming out of the peaks and gradually moving down. We hope that it is the final high tide of the pandemics. No more anymore. The Japan is also gradually coming down, but the Vietnam still not yet able to contain the virus. So you can altogether the China and the Taiwan's, we contain, we stop the transmissions quite well. So far we don't hardly affected, by the pandemics. However, the Japan, Vietnam, South Korea, and Indonesia was severely injured, economically, by the virus. Actually, if we look at the two major external impacts combined together, this is the impact to the Taiwanese firms. So you can see we have the Sino-US, the trade war frictions. And we call it the Sino-US decouple. Decouple. Decouple means the Trump administrations, they try to dump China from their supply chain. We call it the decouple hit. So therefore, all the China-centered supply chains was severely influenced. They have to reallocate it, their production site, from China to the Southeast Asia and elsewhere. Maybe more, they can get preferable the tariff and the customs control, particularly Mexico. You know that at the time, 7 out of 10 exporters in China were the Taiwanese firms. In the past, it was 7. But the newly published one, they are 5 to 7. Anyway, so altogether, in the top 100 Chinese exporters, about 33 to 35 are Taiwanese firms. So you can see how Chinese the economy and the Taiwanese economy has been linked and associated to each other. So therefore, because of that, so those high China dependency firms, will be severely impacted by the Sino-US frictions and the so-called supply chain decouple hits. And also, 80% of listed Taiwanese firms are investing in Chinese mainland. And because of the culture and the geographical proximities, is the major reasons for Taiwanese firms to invest in the mainland China. So the decouple hits and the potential U.S.-China frictions, tensions, like to be the mid to long terms impacts to the Taiwanese firms. But for the coronavirus, and we imposed the social distance, and it was severely particular to those cross-border transactions. Okay, that influences the cross-border transactions. Okay, and in particular those with a very long and the cross-border supply chain, long supply chain, and the multiple cross-border supply chain, they will be severely hit, okay, by the coronavirus issues, okay. And also the service-related and domestic-oriented industries like tourism, like restaurants, okay, they are also impacted, okay, by coronavirus, okay, such as these industries. Okay. And also, the coronavirus, even though they have impacts to the firms, but actually someone really benefits. Okay, for example, like the e-commerce platform. Okay, a lot of the people, they are switching from the real shop goers to become the online shoppers. Okay, so actually the e-commerce platform are the major benefit the industries. Okay, and the coronavirus are likely to be short to mid-terms impacts from the business perspective. Okay, short to mid-term impacts. It will be a little bit shorter compared to the Sino-US frictions in the long terms. And the pandemic is immediate management challenges as well. Okay, for example, we have the so-called bullwhip effect in the supply chain. What is the bullwhip effect? Okay, later I will using the graphs to illustrate. Okay, what is the bullwhip effect? Okay, basically it is the so-called backward chain reactions to the upstream supply chains. Okay, once, okay, for example, like Adidas withdraw orders, okay, from the Formosa textile company. Okay, the Formosa textile companies will further withdraw its order from the upstream suppliers. Okay, so Adidas may cut 30% orders. The Formosa may cut 40%. And the other suppliers, they may cut about 50% of to its upstream suppliers. Okay, so you can see the bullwhip effect means the cutting or the fluctuations in the supply chain are increasingly enlargements. Okay, enlargements. Okay, so that's why we call it as the bullwhip effect. Okay, the second the immediate management challenges is about the crisis management. Okay, in the crisis, in the recession period of time, or within the crisis or opportunities. Okay, usually we have to have the good cash and return earning managements. Okay, particularly in the period of time. For example, you have to withholding payments, renegotiating for the better terms with your suppliers. Okay, sometimes you have to divestment for cash because the survival is the most important. Okay, you have to also cautious for the opportunities. Okay, for example, because of the you can see nowadays there are a lot of the shortages happens in the different industry, in the different supply chain. It is because of a lot of firms, once there is a shortages, okay, they increase their demands by twofold, sometimes of the triple-fold, the increase their demands. So they may have the high percentages of the so-called over order. Okay, once you have over ordered, then you have too many inventories. Okay, in the future, you have to reduce your order. Try to clean up your inventory. Okay, so it will cause the fluctuations in your supply chains. Okay, so you have to be very cautious about the opportunity Not just because once you have a good opportunity, then you are very happy to have the expansions in your scale and the size, then it will have potential dangers for the future. Okay. Also, you have to try to find the possible relief programs from the state, because state sometimes offer some kind of relief, okay, at the time of the crisis, economic crisis. Okay. Here I particularly like to introducing there is a very important the so-called impact and the cost sharing, impact sharing and the cost sharing mechanisms. In Taiwan, we have network-based systems. And this network system, sometimes we call it a central to satellite systems. Okay, there is the central firms. The central firms, actually, it is the so-called, usually they are the final finished goods manufacturer. They have a lot of the smaller, okay, they have a lot of smaller suppliers, like small suppliers. So it looks like a central and the satellite systems, okay, just like this, okay. These central satellite systems, actually it is an industrial corporations and the synergy systems, okay. So therefore, once there is an impact, okay, they ask their suppliers, okay, can we share the external impact collectively, or can we share the cost collectively? Okay, usually they are the long-term partner. Okay, in Taiwan, in East Asia, we have a very high long-term orientations. Okay, so a lot of the firms, they are willing to sacrifice the short-term profits for the long-term, okay, relationship. Okay, so this is the cultural reason that we are willing to have impact sharings or cost sharing together within the systems. Okay, so that this kind of systems, it is a collective absorptions through the partnership. Particularly, it is a long-term partnership. Okay, because of this long-term partnership, so we can absorb, okay, the external impacts, and the external impacts can be shared, sharing through the systems. The cost rising can be shared within the systems as well. Okay.